Today, the hub characterized what's happened in our immigration policy over the past several years as a social experiment gone bad.
Very bad.
What do you think happened? What was behind it?
I actually don't know. Like, I don't know what caused them. From the time Trudeau took office, he was obviously pursuing a very open borders policy.
Yes.
But he did something in 2021, 2022 that was well beyond even that. They just literally opened the door and almost welcomed fraud. They did things that were, I'll give you an example. Something that I can't imagine why anyone would be sitting around a policy table and think about that this was a good idea. The Harper government was responsible for a policy that if you have higher than 6% unemployment in your locality, you can't have temporary foreign workers for hotels, accommodations, and restaurants. Hotels, retail, and restaurants. Because the idea is if you've got unemployed people, they should be getting those jobs first. The Liberals got rid of that, so that even in places where you had high local unemployment, employers could go around the locals and hire a lower wage temporary foreign worker. What could possibly be the rationale for that? That's not whoops, you can see what they were thinking, but it didn't turn out the way they thought. It's why would you do that? And was it a deliberate attempt to drive up profits for multinationals, allow them to drive down wages? I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but that was the outcome. And the international student program, they were letting people in who clearly were not studying. They weren't even, if they were going to an educational place at all, it was for a few hours a week. Yes. No evidence that they were studying, and they're working 40, 80 hours a week. How could that be a good idea? So this, I think it was part of an ideology, an open border ideology that the Liberal Party believes in and that they pushed for, and that is now we're living with the consequences. So we have to reverse that policy, and there has to be a period of very low numbers so that our housing, healthcare, jobs can catch up, and then we can start to restore what was the best immigration system in the world before they took off.
Talk a bit more about that, Pierre. I know that at different points in the past couple of years, the Conservative Party has thought, at least internally, about shifting the setting of the annual intake from a small p political decision, in effect a decision taken by the minister, to something rooted in a formula that accounts for things like housing starts or the unemployment rate or whatever. How in effect do we get these numbers under control?
Well, we definitely have to cap population growth. Now, I say population growth because the emigration formula is that there's two parts to it.
Yes.
There's the numbers coming in and there's the numbers going out. Natural population growth in Canada is basically zero. In fact, it was negative for some recent quarter. So yes. When I say population growth, I'm talking really about immigration minus emigration.
Yes.
We have a lot of people who are supposed to be leaving in the next sort of year. They are international students and temporary foreign workers on temporary visas that are going to run out.
Yes.
So we're going to need more people to leave than to come for the next several years. And that means even having negative population growth in that time period. And then after that, we have to have a hard rule, and I proposed this a long time ago, that the growth in the housing stock, job market, and availability of doctors must always be higher than the growth in population. And you can set that by the levels plan. There's something called the levels plan where the government actually sits down and pencils out how many people are going to be allowed to come in, how much our population is going to be allowed to grow. And we need to basically say, well, if we grew the number of doctors by this much, and we grew the number of homes by this much, the number of jobs by this much, well, the population can only grow this much, because we can't overload any of those systems for our own people, or it's not fair for the people who come. So it's actually a false promise if we invite people here and then they have no place to live and they can't go to a hospital when they get sick. So that's how I think we need to do it, but it's going to take a time to get back to some level of common sense.
Yeah. Let me